As we move further and further on here in the A Squared season, we're getting closer and closer to the playoffs here. And tonight, the drivers of the A Squared Cup Series go on to a road course where they'll have to go left and right in order to try to secure victory and try to inch one step closer to the point standings. Hello everyone, my name is Kevin Young here to bring you all the action for the Wisconsin 200 presented by 7 Bar Barbecue here at Road America. Qualifying has just started up, or about to start up if I am not mistaken, so we will take a look at the ticker here and show you how everything is going on right now. Again, thank you for tuning in. Obviously last week there was no stream as we were dealing with some technical difficulties here at ABN Studios. If you want to read more about that, check ABN's website, as there's a nice little write-up about what happened, but it affected both us here in the A Squared Cup Series and also affected the Winstel Series on Twitch. But luckily, we'll get everything going back here, and everything is up and running and hunky-dory here tonight. So as we join up right now, cars going around, doing laps, doing times. Obviously, I think we are still in the middle of practice, as it looks like the session was a little bit longer due to a reset of issues. So we should be waiting on for qualifying here. So we are in the middle of warm-up. So we'll check on some of the drivers going around, including Davey Hawk. He is currently, at the moment, a driver that is on some practice time here. I believe we are on to the practice session. If we do get 1 second, I would say check the information, but we'll take one quick second here. Put up a, oop, that's the wrong graphic. Put up a quick flash screen just for a second, just to see one thing. Just to see if, yep, we are still in practice, so we'll hide that back out. Thank you again, and we will now get back on. So we are still in the middle of practice. We are not in qualifying quite yet. 10 minutes, obviously, for that. So qualifying will start at not the top of the hour, but we'll be in about 4 minutes and some change. Drivers will have 2 laps in 10 minutes to put down the best time they can, and then they'll have 50 laps around Road America for their troubles. At the moment, we have 24 cars here tonight to participate in the festivities. Well, we do have the second as we are inching closer and closer to the playoffs, as we do take a look at the schedule up on the road here. After tonight, only 2 more rounds left before the 6 field of 16 is set for the playoffs. Kentucky next week in Talladega to end the season. So they were both on the docket here. Second to last road course as well that the A Squared Cup Series will have to take, as they only have 1 more in the Charlotte Roval, which will be the cutoff round for the round of 12. So we'll have to look for that as well. As we saw Hawk hit the wall, we'll cut to Ross Baxter. And speaking of Ross Baxter, let's take a look at the points right now as they fill up your screen right now. John Hagan, Brandon Featherplace, Edward Marshall, Chris Fleming, and Tommy Withers all have wins. All have met the eligibility requirements at the moment. We know there were still some question marks about Hagan and a few others. But at the moment, since he is still here, he is still in the playoffs. So at the moment, 5 drivers have punched their ticket into the A Squared playoffs, leaving all the drivers in blue. Drivers have not yet punched their ticket and will still have to find victory or stay above the red line in order to get in. Seth Wansing leads that crew at the moment, all the way down to Mike LaJoy. Obviously, a very healthy gap between the two of them, well over 100 points. But let's take a look at that bubble right now. Mike LaJoy, currently last driver in, currently 276, 5 points ahead of Dale Markowski. And it's about a 22-point swing to Colin McDonough and about 25-point swing to Kevin Feemster. So a lot to play for here. And at the same point, LaJoy is only 2 points back of Joshua Battles and about 14 points back of Ryan Pinnell. So a lot to play for here on the road course, which could be a bit tricky for some of these drivers. Some of them aren't as experienced going right and left, or maybe not the most skilled. It's not in their wheelhouse of domain. So at the moment, that's how the field looks. We'll have to keep an eye on LaJoy, Battles, Markowski, McDonough, as this could be the great equalizer. And at the same point, if a driver can find victory here today by pulling a strategy, they could also flip this on their heads. So back upward here, minute to go here. Obviously, you can see a lot of sand and foliage. If we do see some slowdown performance issues, we do apologize as well, as this track seems to be having some frame rate issues. We tried some resets, and it seems like, for the most part, it will be fine, but we may get a little choppiness in certain sections, but we won't be able to fix that, sadly, tonight, but we will try to get that going for the rest of the season. So, do apologize as well for that happening. But as you can see on the top of the board, Hagan, Navano, Featherplace, Gaiman, Wansing, your top 5 fastest here. as you also see the 43 Tommy Withers escape the pit lane. There's Mike LaJoy. One of the drivers that we talked about being on the bubble, needs a good run here. Currently 13th fastest. Is going to be trying to look to have a good performance here. As he goes a little bit off there into the sand. Just checking everything is good. All audio levels are decent. So pretty much we are at the calm before the storm, if you will. 30 seconds to go. And we'll get this main show underway here. I guess real fast, while we also have this time as well, we'll talk about the constructors and all that too real fast. We have about 19 seconds to go. At the moment, Rookie of the Year currently is in the camp of Brian Dixon, who's 69 ahead of Chris Fleming. Bowie Esports leads about by over 200 SRD in the constructors. And that's pretty much it of note left. Now we will move on to qualifying. As John Haig will be the fastest here in practice. Can he keep that going for qualifying? Only time will tell. So now you're in the middle qualifying. Again, just thank for Just the Top for sponsoring this qualifying session. Every qualifying session that we have here at A Squared. And it looks like we'll see who files out first. It is going to be John Hagan. Looks like he will be car number 1 along with Dale Markowski and Cheeseburger Lawrence in third. Obviously, all cars are going at the same time here as it's a one-shot quali. Drivers will have 2 attempts to put down the fastest lap they can. However, invalidations can occur if you do go off the track. So you got to be careful. You'll see some drivers maybe even elect not to qualify, knowing that it can be sometimes a bit risky or possibly getting taken out, as there are no fast repairs. So drivers will have to be wary and make sure they don't overcook a corner, make a mistake, or they could end up putting themselves in a bad spot to try to recuperate from. Just to show you a few of the drivers on runs right now, as we'll quickly pan through some cameras. We've got Matthew Kent, Dale Markowski, Ross Baxter, Kevin Feemster in a interesting 17 with a number placement. John Hagan, we saw him, Seth Wanzing in the Hendrick Chevrolet's car, Josh Gaiman, Colin McDonough, Michael Cheeseburger Lawrence, Andrew Navarro, Davey Hawk, Brandon Featherplace, Mike LaJoy, and Ryan Pinnell, all at the moment participating in laps. As we check the board here, looks like Hagan still, again, just shows you how big this track is. Hagan is still probably about 3/10, like about 30% of the way to completing this lap here. About 70%, I should say, if we go the opposite direction. As he's going to go through the last couple corners here, past Canada corner. So we will actually go on board here with the driver of the 1 of John Hagan. Pull up his driver data here. Obviously, we do wish the throttle and the brake worked, but sadly, not going to be so gracious. But we're going to let him take us for a lap around here, as he is one of the fastest drivers. So he should give us a good indicator of what it takes to be fast around here. So as he comes off the last corner, we're going to let him drive it and see where he can put this. Green flag out now, as he'll start his first of 2 flying laps. The thing about these next gens is they can be very susceptible, like right there, as he'll actually loop it, so maybe a bit of a commentator's curse there. Luckily, will not hit anything, as we don't really got a good angle of it, sadly, as all our angles there. He will come back out. So first lap in the toilet for John Hagan. He'll have to come around and pull out a second lap here. But luckily, first lap gone, but he'll have time to do a second lap here, as obviously a lap around here is in the minute and some change, so we'll have plenty of time to put down a second lap. So we'll take this opportunity to cut to someone else. Let's see, we'll cut to Seth Wanzing, as he was top 5 on the time board sheet. And actually, we'll go inside the cockpit of that driver as well, as we do just want to see a full lap here from someone's perspective. Some drivers, but back to my point, though, about cars and how they handle. These cars can be tanky at some points, but it's trying to find the perfect balance. Some drivers, if we were here yesterday for the Twitch stream for the High Octane series. Aiden Norman compared them to a V8 supercar. Obviously similar supercar specs to some degree, but using that as kind of barometer, if you know how to drive those, you could drive these quite well. There's still some differences, but it drives and handles a bit different than it has in the past. So as Wanzing comes up through past the Mission US sign here, coming into Canada corner. Finding the line, keeping the balance, as these road courses really just come down to risk assessment or not making as many mistakes. Keeping the car as clean as you can and surviving the carnages. There will be 2 stage breaks, but after those 2 stage breaks, if you end up making a mistake in the final stage, your goose could be cooked. You may have to come from far back here. So as we see Wanzing come to the last couple corners here, he won't be the first driver to put down a time, but it'll be one of the first across the line, I should say. So we'll see what time he does here. Will it be the benchmark? Obviously, Navarro just crossed the line. He'll set the time of a 2:09.69. Hawk will do a 2:15. Wanzing will do a 2:12. So second fastest at the moment as Feemster puts on a 2:15 as well, but still a ways away to catch as he'll lock up into one. That will end his run, and that will be 2 laps done for Seth Wanzing. Ross Baxter puts out a good time there, 2:13. We'll cut to Navarro, though, at the moment, as he is, at the moment, putting on some good laps here. We'll see if he can improve. See if anyone else at the moment is about to finish a lap. Colin McDonough's coming up the hill here. We'll see if he puts down a time. Looks like he did invalidate somewhere along the way, so his lap will not count. Tommy Withers next across the line here. Also, new paint scheme, new rock and paint scheme for the 43 of Withers. As he comes off the last corner here. Time will also not be, actually will be a valid lap. It will be a 2:19.13 for Withers. At the very least, though, that banker lap does at least give him at least currently P9, but depending on if other cars can put down decent times, he could be in for trouble. Andrew Navarro about to finish his second lap here, so we'll see if he can improve on his time and make that benchmark even higher for him. Trying to see what number he's driving. It's 16 down on the board here, but looks like he is rocking the 42. Up the hill and across the line. Will his time improve on run number 2? It will. It's now a 2:09.64. That Feather Place, Wanzing, Co. They're about to cross the line, both Feather Place, Wanzing, and Gaiman. Obviously, we know Wanzing invalidated. Feather Place across the line. He'll get a 2:11. Seth Wanzing just crossed the line. Obviously, will not improve. And now Josh Gaiman coming up the hill. Where will he slot his machine? He will improve and jump up the P2. Ross Baxter also will improve up as well. He'll hop into the top 5. Looks like John Hagan has had another invalidation somewhere on his second run, so he will have to come from the rear. Brian Johnson just finished up his first lap, and he's now halfway through lap 2, currently P10. Colin McDonough crossed the line here for his second run 2 minutes ago here. He'll slot up the 7th in the sticker robot machine. Mike LaJoy coming through the last couple corners here. Again, we talked about a driver needing a good run to survive the chaos. He will invalidate, so his lap will not count, and he will more than likely be coming from the back. So he'll have to try to improve. Gonna jump around here. Davey Hawk coming up the hill now. We'll see if he can go any faster. He will improve, I believe, on his lap, but not enough to go any higher. Brian Johnson coming up the hill here for his second run. He will improve, but not going to go any higher. Matthew Kent into the Bucky's machine. Obviously was driving left and right in a truck last night for High Octane. Came home with a top 6. Looking now to finish here and put down a decent time. He will not go any higher. He'll put down a time, but only go to P11. Dale Markowski, obviously Cheeseburger Lawrence, will hit the tire barrier here, so his run is done. And with 52 seconds to go, really only last car that put down a time here is Chris Fleming and Matt Vordon. Obviously, Vordon a little bit further back than Chris Fleming is. And Fleming will go off, so that will not count for him. So it's all up to Matt Vordon here. It's going to have to be the 209.64 here in order to get on the pole. If he wants to get inside the top 10, he'll have to be the 217.13. It's all in his hands, pretty much. We'll see if he can take it. Coming off the last corner. Can he crash the party and make a pole run that 00? Coming across the line. Will not put down a time. Looks like he did invalidate somewhere, so a little bit of a hype up for really nothing. So he will not improve, and Andrew Navarro will be our pole sitter, as we will now move on to, I believe, warm-up, but let's just make sure in just a second. Yep, we will now get, 5 minutes of warm-up. Drivers will get an extra 5 minutes of practice here. With the track being so long, there's not really much time to get some extra practice. But for some drivers, that little extra real estate can definitely be helpful. Most drivers, obviously, will probably take this opportunity to get, again, make sure the brakes are good, make sure everything's set up nicely. Pit road not being overly complicated, being uphill, so no real risk of speeding as long as you're not overly aggressive. Obviously, there's Matthew Kent. Brian Johnson also leaving the pits as well. Some drivers will take opportunities. Josh Gaiman there. You can see behind Matthew Kent. That's right. Seth Wansley's behind Matthew Kent. Josh Gaiman's ahead of Matt Vordon. Matt Vordon way off the road there. And he's going to destroy the engine on that Hello Kitty, My Little Pony, and Hello Kitty 00. Honestly, looking at that car reminds you of the old Hub network. All it really needs is the transformer scheme on it, too. And, yeah, it fit quite nicely. So as he will just take it back to the garage here. We'll see if we can find someone else here as we see the nice sights and sounds of Wisconsin. Obviously a track that holds a specialty in a lot of drivers' hearts. Obviously Reddick found, I think, his first victory here. Obviously this is where the famous moment where Reed Sorensen won on callback. Paul Menard found victory here in the Xfinity Series. Obviously remember the moment when Jacques Villeneuve took out Danica Patrick. Well, maybe took out's the wrong word, but being overly aggressive on the grass. Matthew Kent will take a little spin there, hit the inside retaining wall, but will not hit anything on the way back out. But I'm more than likely to think he will just tow back the pit lane. He'll actually keep going. So this is why, again, at some tracks, warm-up can be very valuable. At other tracks, not so. This is one of those tracks you can probably pin it up to being a less valuable warm-up situation. Because with the lap, again, being so long, you really don't get much time. As remember, Wansing was one of the first drivers to leave the pit lane, and he'll come across the line with 2 minutes to go here. So pretty much only get one lap of practice. And if you make a mistake on your out lap or on this one lap, you don't get a second lap. We'll see if we can find anyone else here as well. We obviously saw Kevin Feemster come out with his, let's call it interesting paint scheme at the very least. Looks like one of those old IROC cars with a number being in the back, or technically IROCs were in the front, but still. He will tow Ethan Wood. Haven't said much about him during qualifying. Hear him in this DeWalt number 88. So while we do have this opportunity as well as he will go off, we'll cut to someone else here. Let's go to Michael Cheeseburger Lawrence. But while we have this opportunity, we'll take a look at the race information as well, as obviously we usually do that run on the pace laps. We'll talk about it now. 40 laps wait these drivers here in about 1 minute 36 laps. Stage breaks will be at 5 and 20. The 5 sets of tires to their advantage. Fuel capacity is at 50%. No fast repairs needed, and if we do get any green, white checkered attempts, there will be a max of 3, but I more than doubt that, as cautions are not a premium here at these road courses, as unless there's a lap 1 stack up or a restart stack up, more than likely cautions will not be called, as with the track being so big and the likelihood of getting in an accident isn't high, or well, multi-car big accidents, cautions will not be called. So we're more than looking like this will be a straight 40 shot lap of race with barely any, only 2 stage cautions, more than likely. So this is last minute, and we get some last minute preps here. Nice views of the sights and sounds here. Take a quick second as well to take a quick sip of water, but do not go anywhere. When I rejoin you, we'll be ready to go for the race. So do not go anywhere. In the next 20 seconds, we'll be back live in action as we get ready to move on to the main race. So as the grandstands get filled in, and at the same point, thank you for joining us here today. If you are just tuning in, you're here just in time for the Wisconsin 200 presented by 7 Bar Barbecue here at Road America. My name is Kevin Young, bring the action, always here in A Squared, as I will more than likely be here with you until season's end, obviously bearing any technical difficulties or anything in between, but I will be here to call all the way until A Squared crowns a champion, whether it be a new one or a defending one. Anyway, as we see the Sargano cheese sign and the cars get ready on the grid, let's take a look at the starting grid and see where everyone will file onward here tonight. Obviously, at the moment, Andrew Navarro obviously won at Texas, back here again in a part-time effort. He'll be on row number 1 with Josh Gaiman right beside him in row 1. It will also be a quick start as they will start on the back stretch. Brandon Featherplace, Seth Watson will be in row 2. Ross Baxter, Brian Dixon in row 3. Colin McDonough and Davey Hawk in row 4. I was reading off the song graphic. Oh, rookie mistake. Featherplace, Watson, row 2, as you see there. Ross Baxter, Brian Dixon, row 3. Row 4, Colin McDonough and Davey Hawk. Row 5, Kevin Feemster and Brian Johnson. Last of the cars that really put down times, Matthew Kent and Tommy Withers. After that, John Hagan on back, pretty much going by order of number, as they all did not set time. So Hagan and Bourdon, LaJoy and Fleming, Galloway and Markowski, Dila and Wood, Adams and Lawrence, Ryan Pinnell and Josh Battles will round out the field here. So again, being a short pace lap here, as they will start pretty much close to the line here to avoid a long pace lap from the pit lane. We're going to get this action quick and heavy and fast. Obviously, it's going to be hard to beat Andrew Navarro, but Gaiman, Hagan, and Featherplace and Wanzing all looking poised to try to beat him. Pace car will pull on off, should say the pace Porsche, as we get ready to go here. All restarts, first restart will be on the green. All significant restarts will be on leader's discretion. Other than that, though, I think it's time to get this show underway. Green flag is out, and away we go for the Wisconsin 200. So as Navarro comes up the hill, we let you hear the sights and sounds of Wisconsin. Navarro will lead lap number 1 in that number 42 Toyota, with Brandon Featherplace in second and Josh Heyman in third. Obviously one driver on the move and move quickly is John Hagan. Kind of saw him through that, sounded up there as he is up to 5th. 8 spots gained off his qualifying position. He's looking to try to make a move here and try to get around Seth Wanzing, as he is blistering right now. Obviously had 2 back quali laps. He's trying to out-dig the hole. He ended up digging himself in here. So we'll see if he can get a good run off the straight here and put Wanzing in his Chevrolet under pressure. If he does that, it will be Chevy, Toyota, Ford, Chevy. And Seth Wanzing, the only Chevy in the top 10 right now, but you can see right there, as smooth as you like. It's going to be John Hagan now into 4th. Seth Wanzing down to 5th, and a bit of a mistake there for Josh Gaiman. Looks like he overcooked the corner there, and that's going to allow Hagan to get clear. So put Hagan up to 3rd, Gaiman to 4th, as I was trying to open up my map screen there. We'll see if we can take a quick look, if I can find it, in what happened to Josh Gaiman there in the 61. So we'll play it back here just a second, as obviously there's the mistake in the corner. And yeah, sometimes you can see trying to catch up a little bit too hard. The brakes almost runs to the back of the 34 Featherplace. That's all it can take sometimes. Getting a little bit loose on that slippery stuff, and now going to fall down a spot. But Gaiman not someone for quitting too early. This is going to try to set up Hagan here to get back on the podium. So Hagan and Gaiman and Wanzing, 3rd, 4th, and 5th on your screens. Keep an eye on this, but as it does continue on, we'll check a little bit further back. Matt Fordon. Right now, battling Fleming, Kent. Other close battle we have on track. And lastly, Ross Baxter getting caught here by Colin McDonough. Still a real and fast lap for Andrew Navarro, 2:09.79. About a second clear of all the drivers inside the top 10. Next fastest is John Hagan with a 2:10.24. Keep an eye on Ross Baxter as he hangs on for 6th. Rubber stage does end at lap 5. So we're not that far away from seeing a stage break here. See Hagan here, checking around the battles here. Mike LaJoy trying to get the lap right now, battling Tommy Withers here for 11th. As you see riding on board here with LaJoy up the road there is Brian Johnson, who's got the last stage point, currently sitting in 10th. You can see that 72. Obviously both drivers here. Obviously Withers has a win, so he does not need the points. LaJoy, though, definitely a driver that would like to get at least a stage point if he can help it. That definitely can help him out of any holes he could be in. Chris Fleming, another driver that has a win, does not need to worry about it. Matt Fordon, on the other hand, knowing that the window is closing and wants to get as many points as he can, will get around Fleming there. Obviously, Fordon currently in, but at the moment, only about, give or take, 20 points ahead of LaJoy. So definitely not safe by any stretch of the imagination. Ross Baxter still getting a heavy battle here with Colin McDonough. Obviously McDonough, another driver we saw if you caught the HDL High Octane Series. A squared High Octane Series as Baxter will go off there, and he will get past as easy as you like. And then we'll also open the door for Brian Dixon. So, oh, Baxter, it's going to go from bad to worse here. Still struggling with the gravel on the tires here. Kevin Feemster also goes off, so 2 spots lost. And you can see some heavy damage on that Lazy Bee Farms machine. Obviously, Baxter was looking good. Still at the moment to get stage points. Currently in 8th, though. But now, does he have any damage they'll have to repair, or can he tough it out till the stage caution at lap 5? Further back up for 2nd. Gap closing between Featherplace and Hagan. Currently at Featherplace is in 2nd. Hagan looking to try to get around Featherplace and put himself in 2nd. Good passing opportunity coming down the long straight here. See if he can get a run here. See Hagen thinking about it, possibly going to throw something up, but just can't fully get the job done. Going to go inside, though, being patient, being smooth. And he will get clear as you like, so put Hagen up the second. Stage should end at the end of this lap here, so it's good for Hagen to get that extra point to try to extend the gap he has over Featherplace. 77 points for the regular season title, and obviously, with that title, you get an extra point for your troubles. But Featherplace is not going to go away here, going through the couple corners. Big battle here for the last 9 whole stage points here. How bad does Featherplace want it? Can he get the job done as they come through Canada corner, shoot down to the last major passing opportunity you'll get here? Josh Gaiman way off the road in the car shot. He'll keep the car pointing in the right direction, though. And it looks like Featherplace is just a bit too far back to make a lunge happen. Whereas Navarro's coming through the last couple corners here. More than poised to take the first stage here. As they do call it at the start of the lap, not the end of the lap. So as he comes up the hill, come across the line now. And it obviously will be a minute for the rest of the stage ends. Hagen in second, Featherplace going to be in third. At the moment, last stage point is a battle. It's both LaJoy, Feemster, and Withers all fighting hard here. LaJoy going to get tapped by Withers, and that's going to open the door for Feemster. Brian Johnson there as well. Bit of an interesting situation there as LaJoy's around. We'll take a look under caution when we get to the stage break here, see what exactly happened there. As they come up the hill, Feemster are going to get 9th, Brian Johnson going to get 10th. That should end stage number 1. Just on cue there. So as the rest of the drivers get bunched up here, we'll take a look at that in just a second. Take a look at stage number 1's results here. Andrew Navarro, John Hagen, Brandon Featherplace, Josh Gaiman, Seth Wanzing, Colin McDonough, Brian Dixon, Ross Baxter, Kevin Feemster, and Brian Johnson will all get stage points here. Obviously, Navarro being a part-time entry, stage points mean nothing to him. But worth noting as well, Hagen gaining going up from 13th to 2nd, gaining 12 spots. Definitely making up for a poor qualifying performance. Other than that, though, everyone else, for the most part, some falling, some going up, but everyone still, at least they qualified in the top 10, staying in the top 10. So the field will get bunched up here, presumably pit, if not this time, next time by. We will take a quick look, see what exactly happened there coming to the end of the stage between LaJoy and Co there. Actually, looks like another incident happened as well as Jonathan Abbs had to jump the pit. So we're going to take a look at a couple things here coming to the end here. So coming to the yellow, obviously Ryan Pennell has his own little incident further back, unrelated to what we are watching. Let's pull up the 29 here. And we'll rewind just a little bit back, because obviously it looks like whatever happened way before this. So we'll play it from here, check the 17, and we'll watch what happens. So 17 coming up the corner here, gets a little bit too deep, gets caught in the kitty litter, comes back out. LaJoy nowhere to go, goes low into the grass. Then you can see Withers tries to come up high, and at that point, 29-43 just gets into the 29. We'll get a better angle of that so we can see what exactly happened, but yeah, 43 clips the grass, can't get slowed down, and spins out the 29, allowing both the 17 and Co to go through. 43 looks like he slows down here, possibly just tries to play conservative, but that's going to be points as LaJoy, being a bubble driver, needed those points, but sadly will not get a single stage point. Other than that, though, it looks like Jonathan Adams had an incident along Matthew Kent, so we're going to let the replay play here for a second. So Kent comes out here. Yellow flag is called, and something happens to that 15. Looks like he ended up saying he crashed. Maybe he just slowed down. We'll just play the replay here and just see. It's just up the road here, so. Yeah, I think they're just going to tell him he had to slow down here. Oh, no, he actually loops it under caution. Oh, okay. That's a big incident. Vordon as well going to pile in, so under caution. Good thing we came back and looked. Heavy damage for Kent, Withers, and Vordon while trying to get under pacing here. Looks like Markowski may have also had a moment as well. Yeah, it looks like he just... Oh, he loops on his own, too, and almost gets run by Fleming. So that corner caught out at least 4 drivers there. And then one more thing quickly to check while we're checking the end of the replay. That is a big incident there. What exactly happened to Jonathan Adams? He's been there for at least a minute. How do you flip that? All right. I know we're not back live action yet. Long pace laps. One more replay of this. Thing just kicked. If that is not an iRacing caution, I don't know what is. He gets turtled, and obviously, at that point, there's no way to flip it back around. Very odd flip. You don't see that very often. Very low speed, and honestly, I would argue that car is probably still competitive. Unless he gets hit here by Blake Galloway in a second. No, he will not, so we'll see what happens there, but... Overall, a very interesting situation there coming to the end of the stage caution there between Withers, LaJoy, what happened with Kent and co., and in turn, what's happened to Jonathan Adams. Speaking of at the moment, no cars elected to come in yet. We'll see if pit lane does open up this time by as the pace lights are up on the pace car here. We'll see here a play in just a second, and then we'll do a little bit of renaissance here to figure out what happened. So pit lane is officially open. Will anyone take it and come on in? It looks like a couple cars are going to bite here. Hagan will stay out along with Gaiman, but Navarro, Feather Place, Wanzing, Dixon, Baxter, Feebster, Fleming, Battles, Vordon, to name a few, all in here. Just to show you on the graphic here. So a bunch of the field here, but not everyone. At the moment, Brian Johnson going to go one down as well, as he has not left the pit lane here. Odd, because he didn't suffer major damage, but he will be still stationary on pit lane. But you can see some heavy damage on the front end, so something may have happened. But as pit lane comes in, we'll see what strategy calls are. Jacks up at least on the right sides for both Wanzing and Navarro. Looks like Featherplay is going to roll the dice here. He will leave. So Bowie Esports going to play a different strategy call here. Gas fuel only, possibly 2 tires for Featherplace and Dixon. Rest, though, coming in will take 4 tires and fix up any damage they so require. But Hagan, Gaiman, and McDonough, along with LaJoy, all going to stay out here and try to make this work. We should get one more lap of pacing here. The rest of the field gets caught up here. We'll do a quick renaissance here. Handful of cars still in pit lane, including Ross Baxter. Obviously saw that heavy hit he had. Davey Hawk, Tommy Withers, Matt Vordon. Kent has left the pit lane, so his car still looks like it's good, but you can see some heavy scratches on that machine. See if he elects to come back in here. Brian Johnson bit of an odd situation here. We'll see if we can find out what happened to him, but obviously he got last stage points. I don't see his name popping up in the crash book. So, very odd as, yep, Matthew Kent will come back in again. So at the moment, no retirement. The only retirement is Jonathan Adams, who is currently out of this race. That car looked like it could continue. He's elected not to. Brian Johnson as well. Looks like he has pulled it behind the wall. So that's 2 retirements, leaving us with 22 cars still running and 22 cars on the lead lap. One more stage break before we shoot to the finish. Stage will end at lap 25. As it usually is around here in ARCS competition, or A-squared competition, first stage should be no pit stops. Second stage should at least have a pit stop, depending on how you cut it and how you can save. And then lastly, the final stage, you'll at least have to pit one time as well. So we should see a pit stop here in the second stage, hence why Hagan, Gaiman, McDonough, and LaJoy staying out, assuming the rest of you will have to pit under green. They want to gain on track position and hope they can make something work. So looks like a few cars like to come in again here. Chris Fleming, Dale Markowski, Ethan Wood, all coming in. Some of them didn't really suffer any damage of report, so very odd, but they're coming in again. As we officially have gotten the one to go, we'll reset the field here. It's going to be Hagan, Gaiman, McDonough, LaJoy, Featherplace, Navarro, Dixon, Wanzing, Feemster, Dila, your top 10. Long pace laps, kind of where sometimes having a co-commentator can come in helpful. And for those tuning in as well, if you are someone that is interested in commentary or coming in for ABN Studios, is looking for people that want to take up the opportunity, head to ABN Studios website and also head to the ABN Studios, make sure I get the correct socials here. Yeah, ABN_studios on Twitter and other social media platforms. If they're looking for producers familiar with ATV or STK, 2 to 4 commentators, and there'll be big projects beginning in July. So if you are interested, you are watching, do throw in a note. And we'll see if you can keep it up and join the ABN company. You see the track very covered in the sand and the gravel as it's coming up here. So as we're getting through the last couple corners, again, just saying my voice, there's really no point in, not a lot of dead air, but really no point in me going out there and overly commentating on really nothing. We'll save that for when we do get back green here. So as the pace car gets ready to pull on off, again, the stage will end on lap 25. Just going to reconfirm this here real fast. Yep, stage 20 actually, so actually 20 laps. So yeah, it'll end on 20, not 25. So even shorter run to the end of the stage. Pace car will pull on off. Control will be on the number 1, Carolina Blue, and John Hagen. That at least a couple times. We are now ready to go. Green flag is out, and we start stage number 2. Ooh, Hagen goes a little bit deep there. Going to open the door for Gaiman to go through. Other than that, further back. We're going to stay on this battle here for now. We are going to keep an eye on the far shot here as it is getting kind of close between LaJoy, Navarro, and the rest. Navarro already up a couple spots. You're trying to carve through like a hot night in butter. See, it's clean. Other than that, though, Ryan Pinnell way off the road. Hits the itinerary wall. He'll spin it back around by hitting it. Other than that, though, no one else will end up getting any trouble here. Ethan Wood gets a little bobble, but everyone else will have it pointed in the right direction, but heavy damage for Ryan Pinnell. Head back up to our front 2 here as they are under a blanket at the moment. Looking to try to open up a gap here at the very least. Further back, Navarro's gotten around. Other place also has gotten around Michael Joy. Michael Joy here on the alt strategy along with McDonough. They got a healthy gap to Feemster at the moment. Battle shape up here. We're going to cut a little bit further back. Chris Fleming, Michael Joy, currently Chris Fleming and Michael Cheeseburger Lawrence. Cheeseburger Lawrence, last in on stage points. So right now, Vordon going to make a move here on Fleming. He'll get the job done, so put Vordon now up a spot. Cheeseburger Lawrence looks like he had a slight mistake. You see him way off the road there. While recovering that battle, he'll now fall outside the top 10, meaning now Vordon has brought himself up to a top 10 spot. Kevin Feemster at the moment getting reeled down here by Seth Wanzing, so we'll jump up the road a little bit here. Keeping an eye on some other battles here. McDonough has getting caught by past LaJoy. And right now, Hagen and Gaiman have a healthy gap over Andrew Navarro, but that could shrink, as looking at times last time by, though, fast on the track was John Hagen. Picking up right there, obviously McDonough right there, and LaJoy, as they're now getting slowly reeled in by Feemster and Wanzing. Next time by, we'll have 9 laps to go in the stage. Ooh, a little bit further back, you can see Seth Wanzing going to get around Kevin Feemster, smooth as you like. Smooth as that beverage on the side of that machine of the 17. Back up to McDonough, holding off on LaJoy. Going to go a little bit wide, though. Could leave him under pressure here going into the last couple corners. keep an eye on this. It's getting kind of close up front. We're going to head to the front here. Andrew Navarro has caught the back of Josh Gaiman. Has looked to make a move. Fast lap of the race, though, by John Hagan. Navarro, though, not that far off the pace. 20.09.50 for Hagan, 2.09.73 for Navarro. So at the moment, they are the two fastest on track. Josh Gaiman ran a 2:10.61 for his troubles as well. As he's really pushed to stay in touch here. Navarro going to look poised to try to make a move on this 61. That 61 GT Bicycles machine under pressure here. Heading into the braking zone, Navarro will make that Toyota Camry work for him. He will get clear, so put Navarro now up to second. Gaiman down to third, but Gaiman not going to go away like a bad rash. Going to try to hang on and make something happen here. Door is slightly open. Can he get the runoff here? It's about being smooth, being calm, and being clean. Does he think this is his best chance to make a move, or does he want to stay in tow? It's a little bit too far, not in the right spot. Navarro really putting the car in the braking points he needs. Ooh, Navarro going a little bit wide here. Gaiman going to take a shorter line. But Navarro going to use that long line to his advantage here to extend those horsies. As he is on that knife's edge there, going to push it all the way out to where it is legal track limits. Gaiman hard on the brakes, thinking about throwing a move, and he's going to kick the car out. You can see how he was slowing that thing down. There was concern. He was not going to get it woe down in time. He will not. And he'll end up losing a spot for his troubles as well. Featherplace will get clear, so put Featherplace now in the third. Gaiman going to have to regroup and try to get back on that horse and try again. One advantage, he has one more stage caution coming up, so he will have time. But the question is, can he regroup and get himself going? Here's he will actually pit now, too. He did stay out under the first stage here to get the track position. Like him to come in now and try to flip the stage on its head. Get those fresh tires on that 61. Back up front, though, Hagan has now got a healthy gap over Andrew Navarro. So with that battling in tow, it is a now 3.52 second gap. So I do wonder if Navarro may have made a slight mistake somewhere. See if he had an off track. It looks like he was relatively okay, so it looks like he just, while battling Gaiman, just lost some time. So keep an eye on those times as they play out. Mike LaJoy currently sitting in fifth, obviously been passed by Seth Wanzing. So Wanzing up to fourth, LaJoy into fifth. Obviously LaJoy, first driver on that alt strategy, second highest driver on that alt strategy at the moment, currently sitting in fifth. The other three drivers on that call, Hagan, obviously still leading this race. Colin McDonough currently in seventh, and Gaiman electing to pit. So it's been a net positive for all three. They're in the stage points, even though I believe out of those three, LaJoy definitely didn't finish with stage points. I don't think McDonough did either. So at the end of the day, if they can hang on for another 8 laps, they could give themselves a shout to get some stage points here. Wanzing going to go a little bit off the track, though. Just trying to over-push that machine. As we do watch, try to keep an eye on battles for Don and Ross Baxter fighting for 14th. Hard on the brakes, almost runs in the back of Baxter. Looks like we had a slight off track up the road. That looks like it is the Daytona 500 winner, Chris Fleming. As he's going to get possibly passed here for 13th. We do have a pit stop in the making, though. John Hagan will give up the lead and come on in. We'll see if anyone else has to pit as well here in the stage, but Hagan is in. Cut back to that battle now, though. This is shaping up to be a good one. Neither driver in the stage points at the moment, but that can change depending on how long a pit stop is. If we do see, obviously, Michael Joy also come in as well, along with McDonough, so all three in here. So it shows that with the help of a stage caution, you can make it about 13 laps on one tank. Without that caution, we could probably shrink that down to 12 or 11. For Don, way off the road there. Gonna mow that grass, basically. As Fleming will also pit. Fleming is one of those drivers that did come in under the caution. So we get the field recircularized here. Tommy Withers, John Hagan. Hagan obviously just came out of the pit lane. Did take 4 tires and fuel. Currently sitting in 6th. Josh Gaiman currently sits in 10th of the other drivers that pitted. Again, keep an eye on the right of your screen. There's Tommy Withers getting passed by John Hagan. So Hagan now up back to the top 5 here. Knocking on the door. Obviously, if there is pit stops for the top 4, you should re-inherit the lead. Now, obviously, we saw this in the trucks last night at Watkins Glen. The undercut wasn't the correct call. As we saw with the clean track, Aiden Norman was able to get a good run on Matthew Seeger and able to jump him and in turn use that to his advantage. So right now, obviously looking at times, Hagan's have to work his way through a bit of traffic. To go on board with the 1, though, you can see it's smooth sailing ahead, 14 seconds to the next car. So he's going to have plenty of time to really just ride and get the times he needs. You know, Navarro, though, just had a personal best last lap of the race. So I believe right now he is, coming up the hill here. We'll see if he can best that or match it. That's going to set the time that Hagan's going to have to keep up with. That time by 2:10.15 for the driver of the 42. Further back, Baxter and Cheeseburger Lawrence, they're fighting it out here. Lawrence going to get past Baxter now in the 9th. Obviously just up the road, Josh Gaiman. Who had that mistake, now sitting in 8th. As he's looking poised to try to get a run here on Battles. Battles goes wide. And again, sometimes that's as easy as like. We're talking about it in the pre-race. It comes down sometimes you just being consistent. And that showed there as Hagan will skate on by. Lawrence in, he'll pit from the top 10 spot. And he'll come in his Bob's Burgers 47. So back up to our race leader, Andrew Navarro. We're keeping an eye on the times. John Hagan just ran it's a personal best 2:09. This lap will be kind of indicative. Obviously, Hagan wins multiple wins. As long as he just participates, he will make the playoffs, as he'll require his eligibility. Question, does Ray's in? Will any driver be able to push it to the end of the stage here? That's going to be in about 6 laps. Or will they have to pit? Catch some traffic here. Matthew Kent just up the road. As right now, really no one overly close on the track. We're kind of just we're on pit watch right now. See if anyone elects to come in and keeping an eye on the times. So Navarro will stay out here and try to make a move on Matthew Kent and put him 1 down. He will not pit. He'll run a 2:09.92 for his troubles. John Hagan. Oh, he'll make a mistake as he was trying to over-push, so unlikely he will now be able to jump Navarro, even if Navarro pits, and he's actually fallen a bit closer to Gaiman in the clutches. So just showing how hard he was trying to push to catch up here. Back to a little bit further back. Battles is caught to the back of Withers and Ross Baxter as well. This is 7th, 8th, and 9th on the track. They are battling for position. Withers right now beginning to pull away a little bit, but Battles into the clutches of Ross Baxter. Will go on board with Ross Baxter here. His pretty good seat right now at the moment. See if he can get the run on that car in question. See if you can get a good run here on that 11. It's within distance that you can comfortably make a lunge on the brakes if you feel daring. But not going to be able to fully get it mowed down, so he'll stay behind the 11 at least for now. But we will keep an eye on this battle. So battles here, trying to put up a fight, just can't fully get the car woed down. And Baxter going to get ripped around the high side here, so put 22 up a spot. Looks like Withers actually overcooked that corner. So it's going to be a net gain for both the driver of the 11 and the driver of the 22, who will get a 2 net gain. But not enough to fully go forward here. We do have a pit stop. Brandon Featherplace, he will come on in here. He will relinquish second. And will come on in. Again, I would assume this late 4 tires and fuel is on the docket. We'll have to see as well. Brian Dixon also going to pit, so both Bowie Esports cars in. It does at least indicate to me unlikely to make it to the end of the stage here. Both will come out, fuel only for Brandon Featherplace. We'll see if it's the same call for his teammate Brian Dixon here. Is a very long pit lane if you're not careful. And it looks like it will be fuel only as well for Brian Dixon. So as the rest of the cars come in, we'll reset the field here as we now have 4 to go in the stage. Navarro currently has a healthy gap over Seth Wanzing, about a pit stops this and then some, about 30 seconds back. John Hagan currently sits in third, 38 seconds back. Considering how long a pit stop can be, though, it'll be interesting to see where the gap is, because Hagan obviously came in with a 3-second advantage over Navarro. However, Hagan's had a couple mistakes here and there, while Navarro's been more consistent. Josh Gaiman currently sits in 4th. He is pitted. He's about 45 seconds back. Brandon Featherplace currently sits 2 seconds back of Gaiman, looking to try to get that spot. And Navarro is in, so we will get our question answered now. We'll see what the gap looks like here when Navarro pits. And in turn, what will Navarro elect to do on his pit stop? 4 tires, try to not avoid pitting next stage. Feel like you're going to have to come in anyway, because depending on how it cuts, 10 laps seems to be the distance you can go, maybe longer on a tank. Obviously came in about 11 or 12, and we're on 17. Sorry, a little bit further, it's like 10. Yeah, 7 or 8 laps, obviously coming in maybe. So we'll see how it plays out strategy-wise here. Seth Wanzing also coming in, and it will be fuel only for Navarro. Hagan coming down the long chute here, but I don't think it's going to be enough. Yeah, Navarro way off in the distance there. Hard to even see him on that shot, was switching to it. But you can see Navarro right here, about a corner ahead, as he tries to make a move here on the 17 of Davey Hawk and put him left down. Oh, traffic in front of Navarro! Oh, he's going to get some heavy damage there. That is not good for Navarro. Obviously, an incident happened to Ryan Pinnell, and that checkup, we obviously didn't get a good angle of that, as we were kind of assuming nothing of note would happen. We've seen that corner bench catch a bunch of cars out. Hagan will now get clear, and the question is, how badly wounded is that 42? We do want to check the replay, but first we want to see if there's any moves happening here for the race lead before we check what exactly happened there. Looks like Josh Gaiman also just went off track as well, and Brandon Featherplace. We got multiple things to cover here. We'll do it in just a second, as we don't want to cut away from the battle for the lead of the stage here. Navarro way off the road, and he's way too deep, and I think that's retirement. Yeah, he is out. Navarro is out of this race. A lot has happened here. Navarro just completely, I think, gone. Gaiman now in second, Featherplace in third. We got a lot to cover here. We're going to cut back and see what exactly happened there. We'll see. Just give us 1 second. Just got to find the right replay angle here. Didn't even pop up in the battle box. Hold on. We may have to rewind this manually, but this is just a lot has happened in one corner. So obviously the 12 is here. Obviously, we're going to rewind back here as we don't have the perfect replay of what happened. So we're going to have to do this manually as it did not pop up. This is just too important not to cover. Okay, so here's what happened. Similar to what we saw at the end of the last stage caution, this corner's caught a lot of drivers out, including Pinnell. Pinnell loops it. Now, it's worth noting it's a big gap between him, as we'll go gyro here to show you, but that is just not a good blend here. Just runs into the back of Hawk, and that blend was, ugh. We'll take a second look here. So we're winding again. We're just going to do this manually just because we don't really have it. We're keeping the ticker on the screen at the top there, by the way, just to update when the stage may end. So the loop happens here. We're going to cut to the 16 here on board. There's the loop, and I don't want to dog on Ryan, but this is just not a good re-entry. Just right into the race leader and Davey Hawk. That heavily damages the driver of the 42. So we're now going to cut up to the 61 here as Pinnell and Hawk both turn around. That allows Hagen to get caught up here, make a pass to the lead. We're now going to stay on the 61 here and the 34 as they are also going to have something happen here. We'll see if we'll find in a second if he rage quit or not, but I would not be shocked if he did. 61. Oh, the 12 loses it again, but that has no effect on the 61 here. Oh, Hawk spins right in front of Gaiman, and Featherplace just locks the brakes up. So that's what happened to both of them. And then, just to add insult maybe to injury here, it looks like Hagen may have done something in live time too. We're going to have to check. Then you'll just see we'll rewind here just for a second. So we're wide again. Keep an eye Navarro. Obviously, we're not sure what exactly happened to the car. You see him blinking. He just goes way off the road. Shoots out. Maybe trying to hit Hagen. Unclear at the moment. We'll take one more look. Just want to fully see what happened. Maybe he just hit the tire barrier. Just gave up. Who knows? Yeah, it hits that retaining wall. Shoots out. Doesn't look like he may have tried to intentionally hit Hagen. Maybe just the thing fell off. So I don't want to put that blame on him. So back to live action now. A lot of things have just changed. Josh Gaiman and Brandon Featherplace now lead this race. I don't see anything of note. Looks like Hagen may have repitted. So we're going to check again. Obviously, Hagen currently, this is when he was leading the race. Yeah, he elects to come back in again. Along with Seth Wanzing on 60. Sorry, yeah, he comes in again at 17, so he pits again. Hagen takes 4 tires and fuel and comes out. So Hagen gives up the lead in the stage points here. Obviously, he's already got the win, so he doesn't need them. But now we cut back up to a race later who's Josh Gaiman and Brandon Featherplace here fighting for what is the stage win here. Obviously, you can see the heavy scars of damage on Josh Gaiman from the incident with Davey Hawk. So in the span of what was looking to be maybe an anticlimactic Stage 2 end, possibly climactic, depending on how it played out, it goes from his Gaiman now has a slight DC there. We're going to cut to Brandon Featherplace here. But it goes to a... Oh, Gaiman's still struggling here with his connection. He's right there. He's blinking. Luckily, at this road course, really okay to blink as long as you're kind of on an island. But right now, Gaiman and Featherplace battling for the last spot. Wanzing now third, Hagen in fourth, 6 seconds back of Seth Wanzing. This is the last lap of the stage, so at the moment they're fighting for the stage win. Just to show you, Hagen is here, about 14 seconds ahead of Feemster and Wanzing in that. Hagen flipped the stage on its head, at least try a different strategy. But now the question comes down to, can Featherplace, we saw on stage 1, and he's going to get a good ride in the high side. Oh! Gaiman and Featherplace collide on the last lap of the stage. Featherplace going to come clean. Gaiman still struggling with damage here. Getting the damage quote off. Seth Wanzing obviously still a postcode away, so he will not impact this. We'll take a look at that again when we get to the end of the stage here. Just see the contact is, again, a lot has happened in these 2 laps. But Featherplace going to skate by here. 2 seconds clear Gaiman. And as he comes across the last couple corners here, he's going to take the stage 2 victory here. Obviously a very odd situation. As he comes up the hill, comes across the line, stage 2 is officially complete. Brandon Featherplace take the win, Gaiman in second. Obviously, we're going to wait till everyone crosses the line here. Seth Wanzing right behind Davey Hawk. Going to shoot up the road here. Wanzing will take 3rd place honors. Again, just confirming up the stage ends on 20, so this is the end of the stage here. Hagen will come home in 4th. Feemster going to come in 5th as he's, no, let's say not guaranteed yet. He's getting chased down by LaJoy and Dixon. But not going to be enough. LaJoy's going to come up the hill. Feemster will get 5th. LaJoy will get 6th. Dixon will come home in 7th. Josh Battles here a little bit further back in 8th. 2 seconds clear of Baxter. But right there, Fleming was the last car on the stage points. He'll hit the outside wall. Tommy Withers, though, is about 11 seconds back. So as long as he can keep pointing in the right direction, he should get the last stage point. So Battles will come across the line for 8th. Baxter 9th. And Chris Fleming will be in 10th. And that will now officially end the stage. So Brandon Featherplace takes your stage victory here. Just to show you the results here as well as they will get officially caught up. Featherplace, Gaiman, Wanzing, Hagen, Feems, LaJoy, Dixon, Battles, Baxter, and Fleming here top 10 here. This race has been switched on its head. As we saw Navarro, the strongest car in the field, have an incident there with a lapper, and that is going to take him out of the running, making it an open horse race between Hagen and Featherplace and Gaiman and Wanzing fighting for these honors. We'll take a look as well just what happened there coming to the end of the stage between Featherplace and Gaiman. Just see what happened here. I think we're a little bit further back at the time of the incident. So we're going to rewind here. Wind just a little bit forward because obviously Gaiman's connection there was acting a little bit funny. So it's kind of flipped up our replays. And with these pace laps being very long, we kind of can just, good way to kill some dead air. So we'll play it up to when they get into contact here, which is going to be coming around up the Canada corner here. So they shoot wide here, and we'll play it full speed here. See if we can find a decent angle of this. So there's a little bit of a run there. Featherplace gets a decent run. Remember, coming to the end of the stage. Gaiman gets a little loose. Oh, there's nothing Featherplace did. Gaiman just got a bobble. And it just ended up taking Featherplace with him. We'll rewind here as well, as obviously we don't have the replay we can go back to, so we're just going to have to manually rewind. But we'll play it up on the hood cam here. And you'll just see again, Gaiman, yeah, the back end just kicks, tries to save it, and ends up just clipping Featherplace and sends them both around. Luckily, again, not a major, no real damage other than Featherplace, other than the side damage. Gaiman does clip the wall a little bit, though, but in the day, it could have been a lot worse for what it was. But luckily, the car that really didn't have anything to do with it ends up getting the minimal damage. So back to live action. We're going to take a quick second break here as I'm going to refill my water. Pit stop should start this lap by as the rest of it gets caught up. And then when we get back, we will recycle the field. So don't go anywhere. We'll be back here in just a couple seconds. So it's
flag, green flag.
switch come loose here on the PC here. So sorry about that. For checking the comments here, calling the action of what's happened. And it looks like Mike had just come over calling those last couple actions like something was happening on the racing surface, and today nothing was coming from the mic. So again, do apologize about that. Was keeping an eye on the call and everything, and it ends up just something got switched there, pulled out, much to my knowledge there. So we'll reset what I was trying to say. We got Ross Baxter now under the pressure of Brian Dixon. While we were watching that, a lot of things have changed up. Hagan is now pulled out about 3 seconds clear of Josh Gaiman. Seth Wanzing now sits in third, trying to catch back up. We're watching right now the battle between Ross Baxter, Kevin Feemster, and Co. This is currently sitting on track 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th. Feemster just up below about 2nd clear, you see him right there in that silver machine. Been very chaotic, maybe a bit cursed as between this and this. It's been very interesting these last 20 minutes. So we're watching this battle here. Obviously, a pit stop still looms for this field. Everyone cannot make it here on the way back. They'll have to pit at least once for fuel and tires. So Ross Baxter currently about half a second clear. Brian Dixon, Mike LaJoy going to go a little bit too deep, and that's going to overcook. He's going to lose a little bit of time here to Brian Dixon. That's going to cause some separation. Ooh, Tommy Withers, Matthew Kent. They're going to be side by side past the Sargento sign here. This is currently on the track for 12th. Obviously not the day either driver would want, but considering they're still running and both on the lead lap, that could be an accomplishment itself. Well, Matthew Kent going to loop it though on the high side. Almost runs in the back of Davey Hawk there, who has to take evasive action. Looks like Josh Battles also went off here. So a lot of chaos happening here as Battles ends up going in the 12th, Kent 13th, and Withers stays in 11th, and has now caught the back of Wardon and Fleming. They have also made self-mistakes of their own, as it's not that far up on the road here. And speaking of there, Chris Fleming goes deep. That's going to open the door back, so he will fall down to 11th. Withers now in 10th. This is going to try to chase down that Wardon. So as we keep an eye on all these battles here, separation opening up here. Ross Baxter, Ryan Dixon, they're still within half a second of each other. Kevin Feemster here under pressure as well, just up the road. He is falling down with another a second as well. So top battle for 5th, 6th, and 7th, all under a blanket. You know what, up front, looks like John Hagan has made a slight mistake as he has been reeled back in by Josh Gaiman. Up his last time we checked, it was about a 3-second gap. It is now down to about 6/10. Obviously, we'll check it maybe in a minute, see what happened. Obviously, we're watching so much information that sometimes things can kind of fall through the wayside. Just checking to see maybe you've had an off track or anything. Obviously, you don't lose 3 seconds without some sort of mistake, but looks like our replay cameras did not pick up whatever happened, thus why I was not alerted. But anyway, can't dread on spilled milk, as this really flips it all open here. As Hagan's going to have to re-grill up and try to move forward here. Gap is about 1.2 seconds. Like I keep saying, a pit stop does loom. And we know Hagan's going to have to pit first. He came in at 17, Gaiman came in at 21. Obviously, both drivers are going to try to push it to 10 laps to go, as that would give them more than enough fuel to make it to the finish line. So Hagan going to have to try to make 3 more laps. Gaiman obviously can go a little bit further, but how much further does he want to push it? We've seen the overcut work better if you have the speed. And in turn, will any driver elect to roll the dice and not even take tires at all? That could be the difference maker. Coming up the hill past the section, Hagan still leads. Gap's now back up to 1.47. We'll cut back to the battle we were keeping an eye on. Kevin Feemster, Ross Baxter. He's about a second right now. both drivers that came across the line. Personal best for both of them last time by. This time by 2:13.89. Another personal best for Mr. Bax was slightly quicker to 2:13.83, but really not enough to overly move forward. Well, now you can all see Brian Dixon and LaJoy in the distance. Back up front, looks like Gamon's made a slight mistake. And that is going to allow Seth Wanzing to get to second. Opens up a 6-second gap, and now Wanzing's going to go deep as well. So every time we cut away thinking status quo, incident occurs. And Gaming going to get clear as well. Now it's also reeled back in feather play. So a big battle for the second and third spots at the podium. Oh, and Gaming going to lose it on the grass. Into the outside wall hard. That is going to take him out of contention for possibly the podium. And depending on how bad he hit it, it could even take him out of this race. See smoke up ahead, though, but that is, I believe, actually, it was Seth Wanzing. And that is Cheeseburger Lawrence. I'm trying to get the replay ready here to go. So, a lot has just happened there in a span of a couple quarters. So we're going to take a quick look back here and see what exactly happened here to set this up. So, obviously, last time we left, that was the interval gap between Gaiman and Hagan. In the span of a couple corners, things are going to go completely south. So, let's watch this whole exchange play out again here. So Gaiman losing the corner that has caught so many people out. It's not even funny. That opens the door for Wanzing here. Wanzing gets clear. And then sets his sights up and gets around Gaiman. Then Wanzing, now with a clean track, maybe not the help of the brake marker ahead, over-commits to this corner here. And it allows Gaiman to snake on by. While Brandon Featherplace is just sitting there licking his chops. So as they come through the next section of corners here, Gaiman goes over deep again, gets a little bit of grass on the tires there, allows Wanzing a chance to get a good run. He then gets a little too deep on the grass. That upsets the car with the weight transfer, sends him around. He smacks the wall a ton. Meanwhile, Seth Wanzing goes a little bit too deep, spins the rears, and that allows Brandon Featherplace to get clear. So just in the span of, I talked about in the pre-race, but it really comes down to just being consistent and making mistakes. And we've just seen both Wanzing and Gaiman have ample opportunities there, and they both just made mistakes. So it's reset. It's now a very big gap between Hagan and Featherplace. Hagan's now 10 seconds clear of Brandon Featherplace. I'll show you by the up speed, 9.54 to be exact. And this is the advantage you get once you have a big clean track, is you don't have to over push. You don't have to drive on a knife's edge and risk wrecking the car or wrecking yourself. And Featherplace has been keeping it relatively clean. Obviously, the only incident that comes to mind is that incident where he ended up getting in Gaiman's incident there. It wasn't really even his fault. So consistency is key, and Featherplace, you could generally argue right now, is one of the strongest drivers to the throne to try to stop John Hagan from repeating as champion. And he currently sits in second, also second in the points as well, John Hagan, who he's 77 points back of. Anyway, though, as we see Hagan about to come to the last couple corners here, officially signifying 10 to go, he should be, pit stop window should be officially opened. If you can't pit now, you will make it to the finish line after Hagan completes the lap here. Speaking of, Hagan will actually come in now, not even going to risk an extra lap. So he is in. That will give the lead to Featherplace, but with it being over a 10-second interval, unless Hagan makes a mistake, Hagan's going to recycle back with this lead. I guess the only question really of note is, will Hagan take 4 tires of fuel? Obviously, with being pretty much a full stint, it's more than likely he will take 4 tires and fuel. We're actually going to cut away from this as Hagan and Gaiman, they're having a drag race down the stretch. We'll keep an eye on the times of Hagan through our boxing yard. You can see the Jack putting the tires up as Hawk kind of being into that pick here in that 21. Obviously, lap car has the right to fight. Obviously, first car one down. You know, both cars just hoping you can just get out of the way here and let them fight it out. Go on board here with Josh Gaiman. Pretty much just see Wanzing go around here. Gaiman gonna follow suit. They shoot down the line here. Don't want to make a mistake. Gaming going to try to make the move as well. Can't fully get side by side. So Wanzing will survive the challenge. Gaming is right there, hounding the back of Steph Wanzing. Meanwhile, John Hagen did take 4 tires and fuel for his stop. To make note of that as well. So it does, again, open the door for Feather Place. He's going to come in a little bit later. Came in at the end of the stage, so he can come in a couple laps later. Does he roll the dice and take a tire-only strat and try to get that extra track position and make this a race? But I don't know if that will be enough shave-off even to get ahead of John Hagen. As we assume he came in at a 15-second pit stop window, a delta of 54.65 seconds down pit lane. Feather Place, if he shaves that off, gets maybe about 8-9 seconds back, at least on pit lane time. Is that going to be enough to jump Hagen and in turn hang on to it? Or is it better to play it smart and get the fresh tires? Because looking at times, these two we're currently watching are slowly cutting in the Brandon Feather Place in second. Now true, it's still a healthy distance, as we'll show you by the speed graphic here as we're watching this battle. 7.27 to be exact. As Gaiman has a blink, gets the car loose, but he saves it. So it's about 7 seconds. Both cars will actually come in this time by as well. So they will both give up second and third respectively to come on in. Davey Hawk will also pit as well. So now the world is in, now it's in Brandon Feather Place's hands here. He's going to go 1 lap later than the field. Baxter LaJoy also in. It's really just going to come down to a question of A, what Wanzing and Gaiman do here. They're both going to get passed by John Hagen regardless. You'll see him zoom away on the right side of the screen here in just a second. Actually, it just got clear now. It's going to be at least 2 tires for both of them. Assuming depending on how much they fill it up, they're also going to take 4. Jacks up for both of them. They'll take 4 here. They're also going to come out in a little bit of lap traffic, so it looks like, yeah, Wanzing going to get held a little longer for damage repair here. Gaiman away. Wanzing now still hasn't left his box yet, still getting stationary. Obviously, odd situation here as he was coming out for a podium, now still stuck. Wonder if he got busted for a penalty. Keep an eye on it. Obviously, if he holds for 45 seconds here, it will be officially a penalty. So 44, 45, 46. Still a lengthy stop, so it's not even a penalty. So it must have been some damage here occurred. So we'll cut back to what we were watching. Josh Gaiman here going to cut his way through the traffic. As long as he doesn't make a mistake, he's poised to get a podium spot. But now the question is on. John Hagen is currently 28 seconds back, which should be plenty, presumably, to re-jump Feather Place if Feather Place takes 4 tires and fuel. If Feather Place elects to take fuel only, I think there's a bit more of a question mark here. Obviously, the longer Feather Place goes here without pitting, as he's going to come in now, so we're going to answer this question now with 8 to go. What does Feather Place think can give him the best chance to win this race? It's a long, lonesome trip down pit lane. We're going to watch John Hagen here as he's going to come up the line here, get ready to go. He's going to come through the last corner. Feather Place still not in his box yet. I don't even think even if he takes anything, he will pretty much get jumped here as Hagen is coming up the hill here. Yep, there he is. So regardless of what happens, you see right on the right side of the screen, there goes Feather Place zooming on by. So we have a new race leader, John Hagen. And left fuel only for Brandon Feather Place, so he is going to try whatever he can to keep that gap minimized. But just to show you how much time he lost, the interval is about the same as when he came in. Or when Hagen came in, I should say. About 9 seconds. So Hagen at the moment looks poised to take this. Obviously things can change. Verdon and Battles come in. They'll both give up their spots. Steph Wanzing has finally left the box after 55 seconds, so he is now out of contention for a podium as he sits in 9th. See Hagen go through the twisty bits here. Right now, going to come to 7 here. Let's reset the field here with 7 to go. Here's everyone's pretty much made their last pit stops of this race. So John Hagen leads the way. A sight we've said many times this season. Brandon Featherplace 9 seconds back, took fuel only on his stop. Again, unless Hagen makes a mistake, looking at times, Hagen has been clear. The personal best, for reference point, Hagen's best lap last time by was better than Featherplace's personal best, and Featherplace is on older tires right now, so unlikely Featherplace can really rip it, but still, a net P2 is definitely a good advantage, even if the wind may be slipping through his hands, so you can't take any fault away from that as he comes across the line now. Josh Gaiman sits in 3rd. He has had a roller coaster of a day between highs and lows, damage in that, and actually we'll show you from the position stats screen here. Obviously, low is 13th, but has been consistently there, but mistakes have put him behind the 8 ball in some spots. He sits there in 3rd. Ross Baxter goes off here, but currently sitting in 4th. Good drive for him in that number 22 machine. Again, another driver who's really kept his nose clean and has been able to benefit the rewards. Michael Joy sits in 5th. He's about 4 seconds back of Ross Baxter. Again, a driver needing a good result here, along with Baxter. As we talked about coming into today about the playoffs. Checking points. Obviously, Baxter right now at the moment is about 40 back of the cut line in LaJoy, but with Battles, Pinnell, and a few others having bad runs, this could be the run that he needs. LaJoy, though, should extend his gap and maybe even jump Joshua Battles here, sitting in 5th. Verdon in 6th. Getting a good drive for the My Little Pony car there. 7th, Brian Dixon. He's been consistent keeping his nose clean. That's why he's also second highest in the drivers without wins. Seth Wanzing obviously was running podium, but had a mistake on the pit stop there, or at least had a long damage repair. He now sits in 8th. Chris Fleming sits in 9th. Obviously our 500 wear locked in. And Kevin Feemster, driver needing a good run here. He's had, again, highs and lows. Up is 5th, but with this pit stop, he's fallen down to 10th. Trying to hang on here. Tommy Withers sits in 11th, winner of the Auto Club. So, again, locked into the playoffs, but still just looking to get a run. Back in the playoffs as well, but this result being this low is not the greatest for him. And Josh Battles, last car on the lead lap, sits in 13th position. But again, another driver has had a great run from where he qualified. Started 24th, and he's already got up to 13th, so he's made up half the spots. Not bad for the driver that finished, was a finalist in the bracket challenge. So keep an eye, obviously, just up the road here. You can see the next battle. Withers and Kent here fight it out for 11th. They're having a good battle here as they battle it out. Ooh, a bit of a mistake there by Withers. Kent's got to take evasive action, and that's going to open the door. As we hope we get the right camera there. And Kent's also going to make a mistake by going off in the grapple, so Battles gets 2 spots by just surviving. Kent will gain 1. Withers will be the big loser and lose 2. Now Battle's going to try to reel back down Feemster. Back up to our race again, John Hagen, as he is coming through, the big S to the back half of the session here. I think there's a chance he is catching up some of our lap traffic here. As Withers can't go into the last couple corners here. John Hagen, just through Canada corner. So it's close, but there's a chance he will catch some lap traffic here in the next couple of days. And after the gap is now opened up to 12 seconds. Meanwhile, though, the gap between Feather Place and Gaiman is shrinking a little bit. Now, I say shrinking, but it's still well over 16 seconds. So, unlikely that Gaiman will be able to catch the back of Baxter. I'm sorry, Feather Place. Speaking of Baxter, he's about 20 seconds back of Gaiman, so again, unlikely he will catch Gaiman. So at the moment, with 5 to go, podium looks pretty much set, but obviously we've seen so many mistakes, errors, and accidents that nothing is guaranteed here. Hay can easily overcook it, lap traffic could play a factor and take him out. Same thing with Feather Place, and Gaiman easily can make a mistake, so we are not set in stone in the slightest, so do not go anywhere. We'll see this out playing out to the end. Really, again, nothing really of note to cover here at the most part. Everyone is pretty much isolated out on their own islands here. It's kind of the only part that really kind of stinks sometimes about commentary, or at least covering these races. Sometimes drivers just get spaced out, and by that time, there's really nothing of note to report. I was like with Joy, obviously, you see here well ahead of Fordon and Baxter. Probably the closest thing we have on track is the gap between him and Battle Baxter. That time by Joy did a 2:13, Baxter did a 2:15. So was able to shave away 2 seconds is the gap. You can see him just up the road. McDonough gets way loose off the corner, almost takes out Baxter indirectly. Battles has reeled back in Feimster though, so we'll keep an eye on this. So we'll see if Battles can obviously get his car back inside the top 10 here. Obviously, Feimster are going to put up a big fight here. Ooh, big mistake there by Feimster. That's going to open the door, and Battles is going to snake by. So Battles in the top 10. Feimster are going to fall down to the left. Ryan Pinnell overcooks the corner there. It's been a race to forget for Ryan, as you can see by the scratches on that machine. He sits in 16th. Seth Wanzing is slowly reeled back in Bourdon after his lengthy pit stop. Going to try to get back into the top 6. And unlikely he'll get to the top 5, as LaJoy is about 20 seconds away from what we're watching. So, at the moment, it does seem like it will be the highest he can get here. See if he can get a good run here. Going to try to get around the corner entry here. He's going to set himself up nicely for a run down the straight here. Ooh, McDonough had another off. But not going to be close enough to get the lunge. Now to stay back in line and try to reset up for something here. Hope Verdon makes a mistake. Ooh, a bit off there by Wanzing, just trying to find that extra time. Personal F by Seth Wanzing, by the way, last time too, so he is flying. Ooh, a bit of a shunt there. Oh, a bit of an off, though. That's going to cost some time. Obviously, it's the closest thing we have on track, so we're staying alive with it. Obviously, we are monitoring Hagen here. He's down 3 to go. About to be 2 in about a minute or so time here. Ooh, bit of a lock up there by Vordon. Good run here. He's going to set up a good chance here to make a lunge down into 1. Looks like a good angle of it. Ooh, you can see the puff of smoke as he's trying not to run the back of Vordon there. It's going to cause him to overcook the corner. A little bit of puff of smoke up the road. That is, I believe, Michael Joy. It is. So they have fallen back into the clutches of Wansing and Vordon here, as that has now opened up the door here for a top 5. But up front, John Hagen, as he gets through the last couple corners, we'll see the 2 to go this time by in the Smeel Racing Design machine. 18 seconds is the gap between him and Feather Place. 60.92 is actually a little bit off. A little bit of lap traffic you can see just up the road here. Both Fleming and Feimster both are on the lead laps. They do not have the right to move out of the way. They can fight. You can also see Cheeseburger Lawrence, but he is 1 down. So Hagen, what he does not want to see is some lap traffic. However, he does have the ability to back it up. He can sacrifice about 16 seconds, and he'll still be good. So how aggressive does Hagen want to be in this encounter? We'll just shoot around one of the lap cars here. So we'll cut back to this in a minute as we are seeing this get close between Wansing and Vordon again. As if the gap falls, we will cut back to that, but right now it is still stationarily holding. Another spot here where Wansing could make the move. He's just trying to do what he can do. On the brakes, but not going to be any luck to do it. Tuck back in line and they'll both go a little bit wide. Back update on Hagen real fast. He's gotten around both Feimster and Fleming. Now we'll set his sights on Cheeseburger Lawrence, who will go off here. Once he gets, Joshua Battles. Once he gets around him, I believe it will be smooth sailing. It is. So he'll have about a lap and a half to try to finish this race out and finish it. It's back up to the battle we were watching, though. Top 6 honors. This is going to be Wansing's second last chance. He'll have pretty much this lap and then one more after this to try to set something up here. And again, Michael Joy not that far up the road here. So we don't want to miss the leader coming across to the white here. We are going to stay on this. Going to try to double screen this basically. So we'll stay on this for now. We're going to cut back up, coming up through Canada Corner. We see John Hagen. We're going to cut back to this battle. Hagen is about clear. We'll see if he makes a lunge. He will not. So we'll cut back up to our race leader. Hagen comes up the hill. Did have a little bit of an off there. The white flag in the air. 1 lap to go here in Wisconsin. John Hagen, 18 seconds clear. His main rivals. Obviously missed but made a mistake in qualifying. Is doing a good job right now and is looking poised to take this win. Back up here though, Wansing gonna have a lunge here on Vordon. Gonna go deep. Blake Gloder's loading, but you can see right there Vordon gets actually a big mistake there. I think he's even gonna get a little bit worse for wear. But Wansing gonna get the job done. Now gonna try to set his sights on Michael Joy about 2 seconds up the road here. He's gonna have 1 more lap to do it. Cut back to John Hagen here. Already past the Sorrento Bridge. Does not need to put a foot wrong here. Does not need to make a mistake. Needs to keep the car clean. By the way, that battle in the far shot between Battles and Feimster is for position. As we see there, so this is for position. They will have pretty much the same on the flight lag lap for them as well. Try to settle this out between the two of them. Back to Hagen. Coming tonight, 5 wins, looking to join the 6 winners club as long as he can get these last couple corners. As long as he makes both Kentucky and Daytona in the next 2 weeks, he will make the playoffs. He'll have a chance to defend his title as he has to meet those eligibility requirements. So maybe the rest of the field hoping he doesn't. As Hagen has been one of the strongest drivers this season, one of the only drivers in the 2 winners club, the other one being Zach Millett. He's had 2 wins, but not eligible for the playoffs. As Hagen comes around the last couple corners here, you could say the cheese is yellow, but tonight it's going to come up Tar Heel Blue as he comes off the last corner, started this race in 13th, made a mistake in qualifying, advanced quickly through the stage, maybe got a little bit bucky with some of his rivals having some bad luck, but regardless, it doesn't matter. Hagen, your winner here in Wisconsin, will take victory. As Brandon Featherplace here coming for the last couple corners will get second, about 25 seconds clear of Josh Gaiman. Obviously, again, Featherplace kept his nose clean, didn't make any mistakes, and he'll be rewarded with a P2. And Josh Gaiman, obviously, a little bit further back. Obviously, still got a couple corners. He's had a very up and down day. He's had multiple incidences, multiple spins. But still, Keaton, that car looks probably the most torn out of 3. But he's still going to get the honors and come home with P3. Only be about 20 above the cut line. That's what the doctor orders sometimes. 2 rounds to go. We'll extend his gap over the bubble line. And we'll take home a 3rd. So as we see Ross Baxter, Mike LaJoy. LaJoy under pressure from Wanzing. Baxter looks safe at the moment. We'll see if Wanzing makes a late lunge. Obviously, LaJoy needs these points to extend that gap on the line. He is the bubble line. With Markowski having trouble, you don't want to end up getting yourself dumped here. How bad does LaJoy want it? Baxter will come up with an impressive P4. As they come off the last corner, Wanzing will clip the grass just a bit too much, and he'll actually lose the back end. LaJoy will come up with 5th. Wanzing will be 6th. Vordon will finish 7th. There you see Ross Baxter coming forward. Just wanted to give him his flowers. And Brian Dixon will be the last car in the lead lap. He'll finish P8. But as John Hagen, as he comes around here, probably see him do burnouts on the front stretch here, but obviously it is a long way away to get to the front stretch from where he is currently standing. We'll see if he elects to do the full lap here, if he'll just burn it down somewhere close. Obviously, Featherplace and Gaiman also both driving around here, as is the tradition. Actually, Gaiman will pull off. Other than that, though, Battles, Feemster, Kent, Flemings, and Co. will finish up. So while we wait for Hagen to get to the front stretch again here to do a burnout lap, we'll take a quick look at the final results here. John Hagen will come home with the victory. Brandon Featherplace in 2nd. Josh Gaiman rounds out the podium. Ross Baxter in 4th. Mike LaJoy in 5th. Seth Wanzing in 6th. Matt Vordon in 7th. Brian Dixon in 8th. Last of the cars finishing on the lead lap. Battles, again, 24th to 9th is nothing to sneeze at. He'll finish 9th. Kevin Feemster in 10th. Matthew Kent in 11th. Chris Fleming in 12th. Last of the cars finishing 1 down. Davey Hawk 13th. Colin McDonough 14th. With Withers, actually looks like end up retiring, or at least maybe towing a pit lane. He'll finish 15th. Pinnell could not catch up. He'll get 16th. Lawrence 17th. Dila 18th. Markowski 19th, getting the retirements. Gaiman 20th. Navarro 21st. Wood 22nd. Johnson 23rd. Jonathan Abs 24th after flipping America. So back up to the graphic here. Looks like drivers are beginning to file in. Hagen actually is in the room here. So maybe we'll do an impromptu burnout celebration, if you will. Or he'll give his thoughts and also maybe burn the car down in the same. So we will get everything set up here in just a second. Do not go anywhere. We'll hear from the top 3, and we'll hear their thoughts in just 1 second. John, this is Kevin, the ABM booth. You got a copy?
Hello, Kevin.
Obviously, we see you maybe about to do burnouts in a second, but why not do some interview questions while you're burning it down on the front stretch here? as you had a very eventful race. Starting off at the beginning, though, qualifying looked bad for you as you had practice speed, but qualifying, you made mistakes on both laps. So what happened during qualifying?
I don't know. I tried too hard and didn't set a lap. I spun into one my first attempt, and then the second attempt out of the kink, I dipped the tire in the grass. So that was what happened to my qualifying laps.
Looking further on, obviously, after you took advantage of that, got back on stage 1, we saw you stay out. And then you were shaping up to have a good battle with Navarro. And then we saw, obviously, you make that mistake, and it came out with a healthy distance. And then we saw Navarro get collected with lap traffic. So take us through that mindset when you were battling Navarro, and then Navarro had that mistake and the heavy damage, ended up retiring from it.
I mean, I knew I had pace to match him. That's why I tried something a little different on strategy. My goal was to end up ahead of him to start stage 3. I mean, I don't have to worry about stage points or nothing really right now, so I had that luxury of just flipping. And so it was going to be really tight on fuel. So when I flipped, I started saving a whole bunch of fuel, but I think at some point he got caught up in a lap traffic wreck, like right as I was coming to pit. And so, I mean, from there, I was like, okay, well, I don't know how bad he's hurt. And then he PM'd me. He said his pedals failed or something, and he blew whatever turn was right before the carousel and went head first into the barrier. Mm-hmm. And so from there, I was just keep it on track and keep it pointed straight. I saved a whole bunch of fuel after I flipped just to make sure that I had enough, and I only ended up being like 0.3 laps to the good at the end. So the saving was part of it, and just keeping it on track. And I know I struggled with that a little bit. So did everybody else.
A lot of drivers, you could say that, as we saw tons of those incidences. Moving further on, though, we saw in the final stage, had a 3-second gap to Gaiman. And while we were cut away, the gap fell down to about a second. So what exactly happened there? Did you make a mistake, blow through a corner? Because we couldn't find it through our info box, because we saw 3, and next thing you know, Gaiman was on your chuff through before the about 12, 13 laps. So did you end up making a mistake through one of those corners?
Yeah. I don't know what corner it is. The last corner, whatever number that is. Well, what happened was into the left-hander before the right-hander. That's the last turn. I made a mistake there and got wide. And then I ended up offsetting squirrely going into the last quarter and spun it into the grass. So that's what happened there.
Looking onward as well, you pit for the last time. You had a healthy gap to feather place. And I do ask this as for a lot of drivers. With such a big gap, and obviously knowing this track can be a bit tricky, does that change your mindset at all? Because it looked like your times were still competitively fast. So what happened those last 9 laps? Were you just avoiding traffic, make sure you didn't loop it? Or were you still just being the same old John Hagan we see week in and week out?
A little bit of both. I was having fun doing fastest lap pushes, and I'd make a mistake every other lap and it'd nullify it. But I'd know not to destroy the car, you know what I'm saying? So I was trying to be fast while controlled.
Fair enough. Looking onward as well, we have Kentucky and Talladega. Obviously, with your now 6 wins, eligibility is not a question mark, at least in the win department. Are you still poised to make both those races? Because if you do miss one, it looks like you will miss. So at the moment, is Hagan still on the cards to both make Kentucky and Talladega as it stands?
Yes, I will. I'll be there for both weeks. So.
Alrighty. So at the moment, as long as things still play out, we'll see you competing for a championship in a couple weeks' time. But we got to the point of the show. Then you want to thank family, friends, sponsors, what have you. Floor is yours. Take it away.
Shout out my family back home for watching. Thank you to them. Shout out SRD and the whole crew that made it here tonight. Shout out you, Kevin, and the rest of the ABN crew for putting on a great broadcast. Shout out the ARCS community and the ARCS A Squared Appins for putting on this race week in, week out. And shout out my beautiful girlfriend for putting up with me when I yell through these races.
Well, it's been great talking to you, John. Enjoy the rest of the weekend, and we'll see you next week in Kentucky. So take care. Have a good rest of your week.
Thank you.
And that was our race winner, John Hagan, and we'll move us on nicely to our second-place finisher, Brandon Featherplace. We'll hear his thoughts now. Brandon, this is Kevin the A-Ben Booth. You got a copy?
Hey, how's it going?
It's doing good here. Obviously, a very eventful race, but obviously, out of a lot of our drivers, your car looks the cleanest, as it definitely shows off at the very least. But we do got to start at the beginning. Looking at the beginning of the race, you qualified quite well, and we know you as someone that's decent at road courses, but I don't think we would put you in the camp of the strongest drivers, unless I'm mistaken. So, I guess my point is, mindset going to road courses, you definitely have at least some speed. Does that change your mindset? What's your thought on these road courses that A Square goes to?
Um, well, I'm definitely, as you can tell, not the fastest guy out here, but like you said, I have a little bit of speed. I enjoy these road courses. I enjoy pretty much all of them, especially after the update. These cars are much more planted than they were um, back before the update. Back before the update, they just felt like they just slid everywhere, and the road courses were not very enjoyable. So whenever I enter these sorts of races, my main goal is to kind of see where I stack up, and then try not to push the car too hard because ultimately people make a lot of mistakes. It's really hard to stay consistent here. So just kind of hit your mark, stay out of the trouble, stay out of the other guys wrecking, and you can generally come up with a decent finish.
Yeah, staying out of trouble seemed to be your IO. Looking onward, obviously, speaking of it, stage 2 was the definition of staying out of trouble because we saw, obviously, our race leader Navarro get in some trouble with some lap traffic. Hagen then decides to pit, and now you and Gaiman are fighting for the stage win. So take us at last lap encounters. We saw both of you end up getting into each other's chuff there when Gaiman got a bit loose. So take us at last lap encounter at the end of stage 2.
Well, I was really surprised after those guys started wrecking or pitting or whatever it was that they did. Um, and so I realized pretty quick that it was just Gaiman and I. And so, I thought, I kind of have a little bit of speed. I think I'm just as good as Gaiman is, if, maybe a little bit faster today. So I went after him and I was just trying to get to him. And I finally got to run on him. I realized that I could stay with him, and he started getting sideways out of the carousel. And I thought, oh, here's my moment, you know. And as I was passing him, I all of a sudden the wheel jerked out of my hand, and the right side of my car lifted up in the air, and I had realized that I guess he tank slapped underneath of me and hit me right in the right rear. So I was not ready for that. It definitely surprised the crap out of me, but I was very thankful that I was able to straighten it back up and come out with that stage win there.
Looking further on, obviously we saw you pit there, and you ended up starting at least, I think, at ninth, if I'm not mistaken. We obviously were wondering because you came out in the top half of the field, then something happened. So what exactly caused you to fire back in the ninth?
um, that's what you get for not paying attention to your pit road speed.
Oh,
So I went 2 over and held it for too long, and it black flagged me. So
got it. So that's what
that
happened.
was definitely a terrible, it was kind of a crappy mistake, but that was all on me.
Yeah, because we stepped away for a second, saw the times being relatively indicative. So I was like, why did he fire off ninth when we saw him come down pit lane? But I guess that explains why. But regardless, you carved your way up, you avoided the chaos, got back to second. And I do got to ask, when it does cycle through and you came in for your final pit stop, do you think you had anything for Hagen at the end, or do you think that a miracle was going to have to occur to have any sort of chance to get caught back up to him?
No, he was pretty much the class of the field all night, him and Andrew. So I knew, at that point, it's just kind of maintain where you're at. Have a strong second place finish, be a good points day. I knew unless he, wrecked or ran out of fuel that I wasn't going to catch him. So I pretty much just held where I was at. Kind of made sure that I didn't, stay consistent, didn't wreck, didn't go off, and you know, come home in a comfortable second.
Looking onward, obviously Kentucky and Talladega are the next 2 weeks. Obviously, having your win, you're locked in the playoffs, no eligibility requirements. So I guess the question comes in, obviously, with Talladega being the wild card, is there any plans to maybe try to help your teammates? Obviously, Dixon's currently well comfortably in, but with Baxter being a bit of a wild card, is there anything over these next 2 weeks to try to help Baxter and maybe Dixon secure themselves to try to get Bowie Esports 3 out of their 4 drivers in the playoffs?
Yeah, there definitely is. I'm a bit selfish whenever it comes to Kentucky, so I'm going to be doing everything I can to try and win that race. But um, I think, if the opportunity presents itself, definitely I would like to have Ross and Brian both in the playoffs. I think Brian is,
Yes,
right?
Brian
Like you
currently
said,
is
but
by a healthy margin. Ross Baxter would need at least a little bit of help, but his P4 today definitely puts him on the fast track of trying to get back in.
well, good. I think teamwork makes the dream work, and that'll be pretty much what Talladega will be. So hopefully, we can get him there by then.
Yeah, explains definitely why Bowie is leading the constructors. But looking onward, actually got to the point of the show. So anyone want to thank family, friends, sponsors, what have you? Floor is yours. Take it away.
Thank you very much. Thanks to Bowie Esports, the team, all the help that we give each other during the races, before the races, communication, everything is just fantastic. It's so awesome to drive with these guys, and I'm very thankful for them. Thanks to you all for the broadcast. I'm going to go back and watch this one and see how entertaining it is. And thanks to Premiere for the sets that they provide for us to run here. And thanks to everyone who watches. And hey, we'll see y'all next week.
See you next week as well. Obviously, Kentucky being a track in your wheelhouse. We'll see if we'll be talking to you again. But regardless, take care. Have a good rest of your week.
Thank you, you too.
And that was Brandon, our second place finisher, leaving us with one. Josh Gaiman. We'll hear his thoughts now. Josh, this is Kevin the ABM booth. You got a copy?
I got you.
Now, obviously, you had a very eventful day considering the scratches on that machine. But hey, podium is still a podium. But we'll have to start at the beginning. Qualifying went well for you in the 61, and you being a driver that has those road course circuits, as you seem to be someone that can always run top 3 to top 5. What is your opinion on these road courses in the next machine? Is it something that you really love, especially after this update?
Yeah, I never really been a big Road America guy. It's not my favorite road course. It's just, too many long straights and, just connected by a bunch of really tight, slow corners, it feels like, and it's not really my kind of thing. I'm more of a, sweeping kind of corner track, more like Watkins Glen or Sonoma. But it was pretty fun today. Car was a little skatey, but I think that was, half in part to the 3 tons of gravel we throw on the track throughout the race, probably.
Yeah, it was to a point definitely in practice where even some PCs were struggling to keep up with how much gravel was that. It almost looked like pollen on the track. But looking onward, obviously stage 1, you had it a little bit high-low, ended up, I think, finishing outside stage 1. And then stage 2, you come around, and then contact occurs, and next thing you know, you're battling for the stage win. So, we talked about feather place, your battle between the two of you. What exactly caused the car to get a little bit skatey coming to that white flag on the end of stage 2?
Yeah, I mean, it was probably just a combination of just hitting that corner at a weird angle and maybe getting on the throttle a little too early. But yeah, it did that weird snap that these cars like to do back to the other direction, and just barely caught his car. And luckily, he was able to keep going straight there and didn't, I didn't put him in the fence or anything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we were both able to just continue on, and I'll take second in the stage with how it was driving. It was kind of all over the place. I had that front end damage from the car spinning in front of me, which I didn't hurt the car too much. I definitely did feel it down the straightaways once we got booking down there and going into 1 and 5. But other than that, the car was fine. I didn't have any steering issues or anything like that. It was just I was losing that top end.
Yeah. I was going to actually ask that next question, considering how many lumps that car takes, especially we saw with your battle with Wanzing in stage 3. It looked like wondering how much that car is doing, but it's good to see the steering was still good. It's just maybe some of the top speed got affected. Speaking of that battle with Wanzing, you two were battling hard for the last podium, and eventually it went to you. So thoughts on that battle you had with Wanzing there before the final pit stops?
Yeah, it was definitely a really fun battle. We got towards that lap car and we got slowed up from it, and I just kind of backed up a little bit and just thought we gotta just get away from them, because usually if you start getting crazy on a lap car, something stupid happens. So I just kind of tucked in behind him and we got by, and yeah, I guess he sped on the pits there, and it just kind of screwed his race, and just lucky for me. But I think I had maybe a little bit more pace. I'm not sure with the damage. We were running super similar lap times after I got that front end damage. So I don't know. I think it would have been a really fun race if he hadn't got that penalty.
Mm-hmm. But regardless, it's to your advantage at the very least to bring home the podium. Looking onward, obviously Kentucky and Talladega are next week. Right now, obviously the points gets calculated. You were 21 points ahead of the cut line and Mike LaJoy. Obviously, depending on eligibility and much other things can change. But looking at these next 2 races, Kentucky and Talladega, what is your mindset coming in tonight? Obviously, you're not going to fully think about, obviously, the points in that. But is that going to change how you drive differently in the next 2 weeks to ensure we see that 61 fighting for a championship in 2 weeks' time?
Yeah, I guess I just have to have, luck come back around my way. I've had a couple of bad weeks. whether it be internet or just something kind of dumb happening and just get caught up in other people's stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But Kentucky is usually an okay track for me, and with Talladega being like regular season end, it's really just going to be a lot of just keep the car clean and go in the right direction.
Mm-hmm.
Which sometimes you don't really get that choice at Talladega, but just do what we got to do there.
Yeah, sometimes you got to deal with the hand you are given. But we've gotten to the point of the show. Does anyone want to thank family, friends, sponsors, what have you? Floor is yours. Take it away.
Yeah, I'll shout out everybody here at Dirty Air. Thank Kevin for bringing me on. It's been a heck of a season. We've got good chemistry working together, whether it's, we're not always racing around each other, but it's been a lot of fun to run with these guys, and I've been putting in good results throughout the season, and hopefully we can pull in a win here soon during the round of 16 or even 12 if we make it that far. But you for putting on y'all for putting on these broadcasts, the admins for putting up with all the crap this year and trying to get everything squared away, and hopefully we can move more positively into 26.
Mm-hmm. Obviously, if someone not to doubt is you, as you have been a round of 8 driver last season, and round of Final 4 the previous year, so definitely not someone to count out when the chips are down. But it's been great talking to you, Josh. Good luck, and Kentucky. Have a good take care, and have a good rest of your week.
Yep, you too.
And that was our third place finisher, Josh Gaiman, and with that brings an end to our interviews. So we'll take a quick look one more time at the results. We did go over it, but we'll go over it one more time just to quickly run through. Hagen takes the victory, Feather place in second, Gaiman in third, Baxter fourth, LaJoy in fifth. Just what the doctor ordered for both Baxter and LaJoy, as they will make... Muted the wrong mic. Baxter will make some good inroads on the cut line. LaJoy should extend his line and get a little bit further in, along with Josh Gaiman. Seth Wanzing, obviously wondering what could have been, but hey, 6 is still good for him, as he's still the best of the drivers without a win. Verdon and Dixon round out the top 8, with Battles, Feemster, Kent, Fleming, Hawk, McDonough, your top 14. Moving on to the next page. Withers, last of the cars, technically didn't finish. Looks like he retired, but still retired with enough laps that he finished ahead of Ryan Pinnell, Mike Lawrence, last 2 cars to finish under their own power, with Dila being the first of the retirements after, with 10 left to go, with Markowski, Galloway, Navarro, Wood, Johnson, and Adams rounding out the top 24. But yeah, thank you for joining us here again. We should be bearing any issues, and obviously some technical difficulties here tonight. We will be back here at Kentucky next week, 7 p.m. Eastern, here on ABN Studios. Penultimate round, 2 rounds to go before we get to the finals. Actually, technically, it's the penultimate. The penultimate is 2 to go. So, penultimate round before we see the playoff field get locked in. One last chance drivers can control their outcomes before we get to the lottery track at Talladega to set the field around a 16. A lot can change, a lot can play out, but it'll be interesting to see how it all goes. But thank you for joining us here tonight. My name is Kevin Young. Thank you, and all of you watching, have a good rest of your evening.